Welcome to the Traveling Troubadour, the podcast that follows the lives of musicians who've successfully toured around the world while playing the music everyone knows and loves. I'm your host, Jason Perno, and our next guest is Neil Brophy. Neil, welcome to the show. Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how did you first get into music?
I'm from born in London, grew up in Northampton, and spent my teenage years collecting records and later teens going to gigs, all following the live music scene. Sort of grew up in the early 80s, buying records, and then by 85, 86 going out to see numerous bands all over the country, just following the music scene.
So who were your inspirations at that time?
I was influenced by, I would say, Dylan, Billy Bragg, who was probably influenced by Dylan, The Clash, and then later came New Model Army and the Pogues, sort of the punk folk, basically.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of the musicians I meet who are from the UK, you start to see there's a huge difference between those who came from the States in their influences. Because as an American, I'm always thinking, of course you think Bob Dylan and so on. But then there are these other artists that may have had an influence in the States, but not as big, but they were huge in England and the UK.
It's a sort of parallel universe, really. There was, there's a hell of a lot going on in the UK in the, say, late 70s, early 80s. And I think Dylan was the only one that sort of caught my ear from the States as an early, as a teen. But later, as I traveled around the world, I learned a lot more about the American, from rock and roll onwards, basically.
Then you started playing guitar, and at this point, when did you decide, okay, I want to make a living doing this, I want to make money?
Well, my biggest passion was travel, and I did an apprenticeship. I left school at 16. Did the engineering apprenticeship, and then went on to college, and then left. Got a job for a year. At the age of 21, I just went backpacking. I just wanted to travel, and I hadn't done any gigs at all.
Okay,
before.
So what did you study in school then?
Engineering, production engineering.
As in audio engineering?
No. Mechanical,
like completely different.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I started out with music and then I ended up doing cybersecurity at the very end. So, I mean, as you ended up, what brought you to go from an engineering career or an education in engineering to suddenly saying, you know what, I want to travel and I want to do music instead?
Boredom. Pure boredom. I just wanted to travel from an early age. I wanted to go traveling, and that was it. And guitar was, I enjoyed playing the guitar, doing the campfire stuff, going to Europe every summer when in my late teens. Around the campfire, doing the interrail, and I just met a lot of travelers, and very inspired by. I met people who'd been traveling for 2 or 3 years, and I thought that's a great idea. So
where did you want to go? Like what was on your bucket list?
Australia was a lot of
Australia.
A lot of people from England went to Australia via Asia. So I just took a one-way ticket to Australia. Went through Asia for about 2 months. I'd saved a lot of money, but by I'd say after 4 or 5 months, I ran out of money, and I had to start going busking on the street. So that's where my music career started, was just by busking.
So it was sort of out of necessity. You were traveling and you were broke.
Yeah. And I was, and I just started. I was in Perth. There's a little town south of Perth called Fremantle, and I'd go there every other day and go busking and earn a bit of money, and couldn't earn that much. The next 2 years, I basically hitchhiked around Australia and New Zealand, busking and picking up the odd bar work. Worked on a ski resort. Did a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
So let me ask you this about busking, because I talked about this a little bit in my book, and I might have a preconceived impression about busking, and maybe you can correct me on that, because I've never done it myself. I've never actually gone out and just started playing on the street for money. How did you find? Did you make good money busking?
First few times, absolutely nothing. Well, I made about $5 or $6. I remember when I was in Perth, I made about $5 or $6. And I thought, this is so I've got to, so you learn, you find out you play 10 songs, and one song people would turn their head around and enjoy it. And then the next songs will be like songs I like, and no one's batting an eyelid. So you start playing songs that people knew, and so which would earn money. And then you get better at talking to people. You get better at, and this is where the entertainment starts. I would give any advice to any young person going out to become a one-man show is to go busking, because you learn the eye contact with people as they walk by. If you can catch their eye, that's 50% of the 50% of the job. You've got them. And
so this is really how you cut your teeth.
Yeah,
as a musician.
Definitely. Well, it was for me, and I did it for 2 years. By the time I got to New Zealand, it was a definite wage. It was definite weekly wage. I would go out. I knew that if I went out from 11 o'clock till maybe 1:30, I would make, in those times, we're talking early 90s. Those times I'd make about $40-$50, and a bed in a hostel would cost $8. So it gives you an idea of sort of what you could do. And a beer was $1. So
all right,
you could drink a lot of beer.
You are basically able to survive on busking.
Yeah.
And travel.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I was always too scared to do it. I mean, I'm looking at this sort of like the Rocky Balboa kind of training, where you're out in the cold while your opponents get all the nice trainers and gear and everything, and you're in a barn somewhere doing it old style and hardcore, and then you come out on top.
Yeah, but time was on our hands, so it didn't matter. I was not in a hurry to do anything, so I was just traveling. It was day by day.
Yeah. So you did Asia, you did Australia, New Zealand, and I think you said something about going to the States at some point. You were there as well?
Yeah, and then I went on the way back from Australia, I flew via the States, and I didn't do much busking in the States, but I flew into San Fran and hitchhiked all the way up to Oregon, and then across down through Colorado and back down to LA. Just hitchhiking,
So after all of this, how did you end up in transitioning from busking to doing contract gigs with agents and so on?
Well, I got back to the UK in November. I'd been away for 2 years. I thought I'd try and get a job. Then after a week of not looking too hard, I'd got a top tip that if you go down to Austria and you wanted to work a ski season, because I'd done a ski season in Mount Buller in Australia, where I did a couple of gigs in a bar there, but just for fun. But they said, if you want a gig, go to Austria. There's a place called St. Anton. Go there and go and see a woman called Joan, and she'll give you a job. So I got on a train, went to Austria, and went down. So Joan, she gave me a job as a glass collector, and I could play. They had live music there constantly for 10 hours a night, and I could play in their breaks. But then after about 2 months, I was playing 345s every night. And then,
so you started out basically working with the dishes.
Oh yeah,
and then she was like, "Wow!" But that takes tenacity to because I know there's some prima donnas on the circuit that they come in and they expect that things are just gonna be handed in their lap, and
I was only 20,
worked your way up.
I was only 23. I was only 23. So,
right.
And
I guess
didn't really matter. It was free beer as well. Well,
right.
That wasn't on the contract, but there was a lot of free beer. But then I did that for so by January I was sort of working full time as a musician. And then that season ended in March. I went back to, it ended in May or April, I think, mid-April. Went back to England for about 5 months, and I got the phone call to come and play in Denmark in the Scottish pub. So that's where the Danish stuff started, and that's where I got my first full contract.
And did you make these connections through other musicians, or how did you find these gigs in Scandinavia? Was it through friends, or?
It was through this place down in Austria is where Tom Dykers came down. He was down there for he was down there for a 2-week stint, because this place where we worked had sometimes up to 16 musicians working there at the same time. Upstairs and downstairs with, like, that 10 hours upstairs of live music and about 8 hours of live music downstairs, solos and duos. So there's a lot of musicians came through, and we all got talking and swapping numbers. And
so like I've never actually been to St. Anton. I've heard a lot about it. I've met and I'm friends with musicians who've played there. What was your impression of playing? Was it like opera ski sort of thing?
It was opera ski, yeah.
And what was that like playing there?
Great. You're playing to Brits, Scandinavians, Germans, Northern Europeans mainly. So you're learning. It's a great learning curve for covering, learning your repertoire and covering all covering all genres and covering all, yourself. People from Sweden, favorite top 5 songs is maybe different from the top 5 songs in Germany. So you get to know. You soon learn which songs work.
What work?
Yeah, and then if you've got a table of Germans, you know what to play them. You've got a table of Swedes, you know what to play them. But it's generally the same. As you know, it's the same old bloody songs.
Yeah, it's about making people happy, though. That's the thing that
entertainment.
I guess, yeah. And it took me a while to learn that as well. When I first started out, I just played my heart out, and that got a certain kind of attention for a small audience that was very appreciative. But if you want to survive in this industry, and you're getting hired to entertain people, you're not there to amuse yourself, and that's a hard thing for a lot of the musicians coming into to finally realize.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, people learn. Yeah, and it depends what the musician's into. If they're into singing, or if they're into playing licks on the guitar, or they're into entertaining. It's our job's being an entertainer.
That's the number one thing.
We're beer salesmen.
Yeah, that's right. It's keeping the bars full.
Yeah, that's it.
So, what did you enjoy most, or I should say, what do you enjoy most about the lifestyle of the traveling, wandering troubadour?
As I said before, I was a traveler before I was a musician or troubadour. I love traveling. I love traveling. I love meeting people. And, in my early days, when I was busking, I would be hitchhiking, playing on the street and sleeping in the ditch or in a tent, but now I'm doing the same thing, but I take the train or drive and stay in a hotel and play indoors. So it's, it's So
what are the drawbacks about this lifestyle and this career? What is it that you just if I'm going to do this is just something I have to accept?
I don't know. Are there any drawbacks? Playing maybe playing the but your job is to entertain. Your job's to entertain, and I don't know. I can't really think. I could be. I could be really negative, but I don't know.
I can tell you from my own experience that one of the things that I had a really hard time doing
the hangovers
on the road.
Sorry, the hangovers. The hangovers.
You can even deal with that, but it's and those get worse as you get older too. But no, for me, it was maintaining a relationship of any kind. It was never possible. You would meet somebody, you'd be in one country, and you would be there for a couple of weeks or sometimes a couple of months, and you would strike up a a conversation one night with somebody interesting, and then you would end up dating them for a little while, and then before you know it, you were off to another place. Yeah. And then you knew that it wasn't going to work out. I mean, every single relationship I was ever in, it just never lasted more than maybe 10 months or a year. And of course, there's always those repeats that you have when it's like, oh, when I'm in this city, then, there's this one. And when I'm back in that city, there's that one, and so on. And it's a very common thing.
You slag. But, you were just writing songs. You were just like, I need a verse for a song. I need a verse for a song. How many songs did you get out of that?
Yeah. I wrote quite a few love songs over the years, but that was definitely a drawback, at least for me.
Yeah.
To the lifestyle. But and the other thing that I thought a lot about this is that it can get tough as you get older. There's no pensions and health insurance and all that kind of stuff, and you have to play your cards right and plan ahead, because it can work out fine for some of us, and others I've seen that it doesn't work out as well. But I guess you can say that for anything in life.
You can say that for anything, yeah. Yeah, it's just you just got to be little bit savvy, Just got to be just on it, There's a lot of the time you're only working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so maybe use one day to do something different,
Yeah.
To do your book work. But
true.
Yeah, but there's drawbacks, as you get older. I think anything gets harder when you get older.
And some things don't get harder.
No, I just love traveling.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so it's part of the cause.
Now, I know you play out in a band, but do you play out mostly in your band, or you play solo, duo? What do you do most of the time?
Many years I did. I think in my 20s, definitely I was solo all the time. And in the 30s, I was with a band. Maybe about let's say in my 30s, I was doing 130, 150 gigs a year, and then maybe about 30 to 40 of those would be with my band.
Do you have a preference between solo or with the band?
Now I prefer. Actually, no. I say I like doing both. I love doing both. It's two different. It's completely two different. I can't even compare. It's like It's like driving. It's like driving your favorite car and driving your favorite motorbike. It's 4 people in a car, only one on a motorbike. It's just great. True. It's just great. Both are great.
Yeah, I think when you're playing by yourself, of course you're only responsible for you. Yeah, and you're in complete control of the repertoire and how the night goes, and of course the money, depending on the types of gigs, but more often than not, that you make a little bit more money as a solo artist than you do in a band, unless you're playing those bigger corporate type of events. Yeah. But I mean, there's that energy that you get from a band that you feed off of each other and so on.
Oh, it's great.
You can't do that
we're
as
having
a solo artist.
Yeah, currently we're having a lot of good time with the band in this climate,
So aside from Denmark and St. Anton, what other countries have you played in?
Well, being in Denmark, as you know, we're close to Norway and Sweden and Finland. So I've played a lot in Norway and getting to play in Finland a lot at the moment. Haven't played that much in Sweden, quite a bit, but played in Germany. Played in I've revisited New Zealand and played down there for about 3 or 4 months. We play with a band. We tour the UK maybe 2 times a year, 2-3 times a year. Holland and Belgium. So
there's a couple of places. There's a couple of places you mentioned there that I've never been to, and I've always been curious. For example, what it's like to play in the UK. What is the I guess you could say the money situation there? Some people have told me that you can only play on the weekends. There's no such thing as 6-7 days a week over there. Is that true? Or
I don't really know. We go over there as a band. I've never really played in the UK. I've played a little bit in the UK solo, but when I do play with a band or solo, we're not doing. It's not for the money, because we're doing original material. And when you start off with original material, you just forget about the money. It's not about the money. It's about
it's all about the passion.
Yeah, the passion and getting your music out there, and getting in the places that you do play. People that come to see you play there are people who want to listen to music. It's not you're not there to play punter stuff. So,
and that's a very different strategy and mindset as well when you're booking venues for the original stuff, right?
Yeah. You go there with a budget and try and stick to the budget of what you're going to lose. Basically,
it's about.
I'm only going to lose that much, but but you can get some festivals that pay all right, and then if it goes well, you can still sell. You can sell a lot of merch. We've done a few festivals where we've sold a lot of merch. And
so that's where you recoup a lot of your costs.
Yeah,
is through merchandising.
Yeah,
it's hard to sell CDs these days.
Yeah, you just got to get them. I find if you do a fantastic show, even people that don't have a CD player or a record player, they'll buy it anyway as a souvenir,
or or to show support.
Yeah,
for the band.
To show support. Yeah. So token gesture.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, out of all the places that you've played over the years, do you have a specific place that you like playing more than anywhere else?
I forgot to mention one place that we went last year with a band, and that was India, Goa.
India. Wow.
Yeah.
To Goa.
Yeah, we went to Goa. Yeah, we played in Goa. We did 10 days. 10 gigs in Goa, and I would say that has to be the one of the highlights, because again, it's the traveling that I love, and where we play in Goa, it's full of travelers who are on the same wavelength. International, it's Europeans. Well, it's international travelers from all over. And it's this sort of hippie vibe, and I think that's the best place to play. And that's zero money. You might get a curry, you might get a curry and a pint.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because there's another troubadour. I don't know if you know him. His name is Shannon. Yes. He's Irish. And he spent a lot of time in Goa and India, and he's told me, he said, you have to go to Goa and get in touch with your inner hippie, is what he said.
I know Shannon, and I met Shannon out there in Goa. Hello, Shannon.
You met him in Goa?
Yeah. He plays with the Tantric Monkeys. Good friends of mine. Yeah.
That's the coolest thing about this job, right?
Yeah.
Is that you'll meet people in another part of the world that you normally wouldn't have expected to meet them, I have one story where there was a guy named Duncan. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah,
who was,
I know Duncan,
also from the UK, and he recently passed away. Peacefully in his sleep, fortunately. Yeah. And, I was playing a gig in New York, and in a small bar in upstate New York, in the middle of nowhere out in the woods, and in walks Duncan.
Yeah.
And we just look at each other and we're like, what the hell are you doing here? But these are the kind of things that happen. And I guess it's because there is a sort of a network, a circuit that all the musicians eventually kind of cross and get on the same path, and then go on different paths, and then meet up somewhere else down the road.
I was on a plane going out of Copenhagen. I hadn't seen Duncan for 10 years, and he comes and sits next to me, and it was his last plane out of Denmark. When he stopped playing in Denmark, he was on the way back home to Scotland, flying via England, and it was he said, that's it, never again. It finally left Denmark, and we had a couple of pints in Stansted Airport. I went to London, and he went to Glasgow or something like that. Yeah, he gets everywhere, Duncan.
What a really nice guy too.
Yeah,
he was the sweetest guy.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for other musicians who are thinking about doing the traveling busking thing, or just getting out to see the world through their music?
Just follow your passion. and understand from the start that it's entertainment that people are looking for. And as soon as you can grasp that you're there to be an entertainer and talk to the crowd and engage with the crowd, that's when you start, let's say, making more money, because you can get better gigs, or you can get booked again. If you go in there to be a singer or a guitar player or something, I'll say maybe just stay in the bedroom and record your music into your microphone. It's not what it's about. It's about entertainment. And if you're lucky enough to write a few songs that everybody likes, then that's a bonus.
Yeah, I had a friend that once said to me, and he was an entertainer as well, really, really charismatic entertainer. And they used to do covers, and he would dress up like the Indian from the Village People and everything. And he would come out dancing half naked, and he would dress up as Elvis and it was great. It was a really, really great show. And he told me this a long time ago. He says, if you want to be an original artist who is crying their heart out and singing these melancholic songs, there's plenty of time for you to do that in your parents' basement. But if you want to make a living and you want to make good money in this industry, you can do that playing other people's music. And that's really where the money is. Of course, there are those who can break through and they can do it on their own steam with original material, but this cover songs becomes the bread and butter of how we survive in this business. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, that's a job for the bar musician, basically.
Yeah. So when you're on the road, do you have any special tips about the type of gear that you might bring with you that you say, this is something that everybody should have? I mean, one of the things that I was thinking that everybody should bring with them when they're traveling is a small portable mixer, or one of those stomp boxes where you can give a little bit of rhythm.
I use a stomp box. Stomp box is very good. I'm into my show is if not people haven't seen my show is generally upbeat. It's to lift people. It's a 1-2 rhythm all the way through. I don't do any slow stuff generally. If I do slow stuff, I'll play it twice the speed, and just to get lift people, because I'm there to make I'm a party starter. Stomp box definitely. Looper, no, I wouldn't bother, because you're there to entertain, not to show off. Because you can.
Yeah, and plus it takes a while to get it going, right?
Yeah, you're there. What verse and a chorus, maybe second verse. On 60-70% of the sing-alongs. Of course, it's classics that need to be played from the start to the end. But iPads, forget about it. Learn your lyrics. Your lyrics. Yeah. You're not there to be a student and show everyone you can read an iPad. You can read. You're there to entertain. That's what I would say.
Have you ever used the backing tracks or anything like that, or are you just pretty much straightforward microphone and guitar?
I tried them once. I had to get a gig in Switzerland, but I generally always beat them to the end of the song by about half a minute. I'm not technical. I'm not. It's not. Yeah. It's nothing. It's Again, it's like, why you're there with one guitar. You're a one-man band. Basically the stomp box just enhances you stamping your foot. And having people with backing tracks of where it sounds like you get the band sound, but you're not a band, you're a one-man show. So it's forget about it. But that's me personally. Everyone's different. I grew up listening to Bob Dylan. So
I've seen people make it work where they're using loop stations and stomp. I could never make it work myself, and for me, it's not worth the hassle. Especially if you're traveling by yourself, you got to fit all that stuff in your suitcase and everything. It's just always been so much easier, and then you can set everything up in like 5 minutes when it's just your guitar and your microphone and maybe one pedal or a stomp box or something like that.
I use a harmonica as well. All right. It's very effective. If you're busking, it's very, very effective. If you're out there busking, get a harmonica. If you're busking without an amp, a lot of people busk with amps these days. So I never used to busk with an amp, but I use a harmonica. Try and put a harmonica on almost every song because it really gets people's attention.
I've never tried it.
Yeah.
I'll have to. I've bought harmonicas. I've never used them.
Yeah,
but,
with the old Bob Dylan thing. That's just my, everyone's different. That's my advice. But take it or leave it.
So what are you doing with yourself these days? I mean, I heard that you have a song that you've just released, Bachelor. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Bachelor, it's a song, I wrote this song 30 years ago and I've been playing it. I play it at almost every pub gig. It's like a traditional song. And it's, it's upbeat. It's happy. Well, the lyrics aren't that happy, but it's very, beer drinking song.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It fits the. If you're looking at if you want to create an atmosphere, a beer drinking, party. The good old, swinging the beers and dancing around.
Yeah. Foot stomping music.
Yeah, foot stomping music. That's it. Yeah, it's a foot stomper. Yeah, it's a drink along. Yeah. It's a drink along song.
That's right.
And that came out last Friday, and we also released an album. It's time to plug. True stories. A lot of my stories from traveling around the world are on this.
And on vinyl, no less.
On vinyl, and it's on beer color vinyl. That's a Pilsner. That's a Czech Pilsner. You get that on my website, brophyslaw.com, Shopify. But that was released last September, and we just got a publishing deal in the States a couple of weeks ago, and it's being played on Little Steven's underground garage at the moment. So we're getting airplay in America and Canada.
Very cool.
That's great.
Very, very cool.
But the new song, The Bachelor, it's you'll hear it. You'll hear it. I'm sure everybody will hear it one day.
I heard it, and I gotta say I'm really impressed with the production quality. It's really right up there. Obviously, you went to a proper studio when
we did.
When you did this.
We went to I'll plug it. We went to Media Sound, Peter Branner. Yeah.
Great.
There you go, Peter. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, that about wraps it up for this week's podcast. I want to thank once again Neil Brophy for coming on the show to share his journey with us today. If you like what you heard and you want to learn more, please pick up a copy of Troubadour, A Musician's Guide to Touring Europe as a Cover Artist, now available on Amazon. We're going to take you out with Brophy's Law and Neil's latest single, The Bachelor. Thanks again for joining, and see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason.
I left school at 16 to work on a factory floor. I worked alongside old men who have been there since the war. They taught me everything I knew. They taught me right from wrong. They poured me right down my neck and sang me their old song. Hey! My education was a blaze of drinking nights and drinking days, getting drunk, falling down and sober thoughts a few. The atmosphere was pints of beer, whiskey jar and steel guitar. Raised a toast and sang a song and then another one. Hey! Sat my life on the drinking chair, by the bar, by the pump, by the barrel. I met a girl one drunk at night by the name of Annie McCarroll. She took me on for what I was. She tried to change me something new. My way of life, my drinking ways, I wasn't right for you. Yes, you are so pretty, you'd make a lovely wife, but I'd rather be a bachelor and lead a drinking life. Yes, you are so pretty, you play the perfect marriage game. I'd rather be a bachelor and drink myself insane. Hey! so pretty, you'd make a lovely wife. But I'd rather be a bachelor and lead a drinking life. Yes, you are so pretty and play the perfect marriage game. I'd rather be a bachelor and drink myself insane. I'd rather be a bachelor and drink myself insane.